No matter which part of the world we belong to, no matter who we are, as children, we all had amazing dreams. We thought we could make them come true. We could be anything we wanted in this world. We couldn't wait to grow up. Life was going to be one amazing ride. But when we grew up, most of us just became a part of a race just to survive and nothing more. The environment around us conditioned us into believing that all our hopes were unrealistic and would never come true. We became so brainwashed into leading life like everyone else that we simply stopped dreaming and resigned ourselves to our so-called fate. And yet, there are some amongst us who go on to achieve everything they want. These are the people we all look up to in one way or the other. They never let their dreams die. Instead, no matter what the world said, they believed in their dream and they accomplished it. So, what went wrong in our lives? Why is it that most of us fail to accomplish what we wanted, while these people, they achieved it all? What is it that they possess? I kept wondering if there was a particular key or a secret to success. Well, it turns out there is a key, and over the course of this film, you shall discover it for yourself. Get ready to carve your destiny. My name is Anubhav Srivastav, and I have spent over 5 years of my life researching the secrets of the super successful. Over the course of my journey, I have met and interviewed some of the most famous and influential Indian and international achievers across all fields. I discovered that the core principles of success were the same regardless of what field one belongs to. In this film, you shall be presented with the culmination of my research and the secret to carving your destiny. People often ask me why I decided to make this film. To answer that, I need to go back into my childhood. I was a rather unusual child. Most kids my age were obsessed with superheroes with superpowers. But my heroes were real. They had no superpower. All they seemed to have was an extraordinary willpower. I wanted to grow up and do something like them. But as I grew up, I was told that I should stop dreaming and become realistic. And so, I became realistic. And so, like everyone else, I resigned myself for whatever lay ahead. During my college years, I was ready for a career in finance, but I always felt a degree of unrest. I felt I was not doing anything that I could say I was proud of. But that was about to change. Even though the project was rejected and it was a huge setback, I decided that I would still go ahead with this project. But it was a long shot. I had no contacts, I had no resources, and I had no support. Everybody around me said that I had nothing that would make this project become a reality. But I had one thing. I had the belief that I could make this happen.
The greatest motivator anywhere in the world has always been belief. Henry Ford once came, got his team, and said, I'm intelligent enough to understand there's got to be something called a V8, but I'm ignorant, I don't know how to build it. I'm not educated. You people have to build it. Guess what all the educated people said? Mr. Ford, we know what can be done, we also know what cannot be done. A V8 is an impossibility, can never be built. He said, go build it. A month later, there was the same answer. We're educated people, you are our employer, we can't argue with you. V8 is an impossibility. He said, go back and do it again. This happened 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, whatever, a year. And then eventually, Henry Ford said, don't come out till you got my V8. and finally they got it right. Henry Ford once said, if you think you can or you cannot, you are right either ways. You're right and you'll prove yourself right, your behavior will do that. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Well, without self-faith, you will always be seeking help. You'll always be seeking advice. You'll always be seeking guidance. That means you'll always be dependent. If you are convinced that you've set the right destination and you know your boundaries and you know your plans and roadmaps, others may think that the journeys are unachievable. But if you know the roadmap and you are organized to walk that journey and you have faith in yourself that you will be able to put in that hard work and self-discipline, then others may say yes or no. You decide for yourself. Either you listen to yourself or you listen to others. You will have to make the choice.
One of the greatest inventions ever has been one that has made the world a smaller place. It is the airplane. This is a story of two brothers who dared to believe that they could make men fly. Their names were Wilbur and Orville Wright. Neither of the Wright brothers had finished high school. In fact, they both owned a bicycle shop. Imagine what would have happened if they thought they were no good since they had little formal education. Imagine if they listened to everyone who said man could never fly. Somebody else might have made the airplane, but the world would have never heard of these two men. The Wright brothers accomplished the unbelievable because they had the courage to believe. And that's precisely why they will be remembered as long as man records history.
If the will, you understand, the human will, if the will is in the earnest, means are found. If your will is in the earnest, if you're earnest about what you're doing, you will find means also, and it'll happen also. That's a miracle. That's a miracle of life.
If you really desire something, things will kind of come to you in a way.
All right, I will quote George Bernard Shaw. He says, to desire, to imagine, to will, and then to create. First, to desire a scenario that, okay, I wish to be here, or I desire this. Then you imagine, you start filling in colors and etc. into that desire. Desire, imagine, then you will. And okay, I have to do this. And then you create. These are the 4 stages. It happens.
You are a product of your thinking. Each one of us is a product of our thinking. Whatever stage of our life is, we are a product because thinking translates into action. Action produces results. So this is the visible product of the invisible thought.
But you see, again, belief is one thing. At the same time, your action plan must intertwine with them. If it doesn't, well, that's just a dream then. And most people fail because they stop at the dream process and they say, well, that's my dream. Well, so what?
One person who turned his dreams into reality despite great obstacles is Dr. Achyut Samanta. Having lost his father at the age of 4 and spending much of his early life in poverty, he still dared to dream. He is the mastermind behind the Kalinga Institute of Social Sciences, which is the realization of his dream to eradicate the suffering in the socially challenged tribal children in Orissa. Watching the lives of these tribal children being transformed through education was incredibly inspiring. I decided to interview Dr. Samanta to figure out what it took to make one's dreams come true.
When we started these organizations, you know that I have no background, nothing else. So people were to laugh at me. So he was a mad. He is thinking of setting up Kit and Kiss. So at that time, even my family members were also thinking that he is a mad. He is doing lectureship job instead of living a decent life. He is thinking of such a huge things. He is the great mad in this earth.
Not only Anubhav, but the entire concept had to face a lot of criticism, not only from the people who were there in the university, but also from the friend circle itself. Because Reason being was earlier there were like 20 to 30 people who were readily interested in going ahead. But when they saw the kind of struggle, the kind of challenge that they were supposed to face, then they actually quitted in between. So somehow, I believe that yes, there was a lot of criticism. People were not ready to buy his point. People were laughing at the back. People were giggling about the stuff. They could not understand the impact of it.
Some of the greatest people in the world, they have been publicly criticized, humiliated. Even Guru Nanak was called mad. Edison was publicly humiliated by the press. When will you stop? You failed 5,000 times. Somebody said to him. He said, no, I haven't failed 5,000 times. I've successfully found 5,000 ways that won't work.
You know, people throw stones at other people's houses when they themselves live in glass houses. It's a norm. I've seen it. You don't have to get it. You have to have the willpower to believe in something and fight for it. If you can't fight for it, then there's no point.
Let the criticism come, but let him rise above it if it's useless. But you can't be away from criticism. People will have, there are all kinds of people who are looking at you, and everybody does not know everything of you. So they'll interpret it in their own way, and let them.
There are some people who condemn you, there are some people who praise me. I don't pay heed to any of these, but some of my close friends, when they say something, I listen to them.
Hear it, analyze it, discard whatever you think comes out of various other factors than truth. 80% of external criticism is jealousy and other factors. 20% may be true.
So what is not true, reject it. What is true, correct it. And thank them for it, by word or deed. But if you think it's not based on facts, reject it. Don't waste time on it.
One lesson I've learned from Gandhiji, which is very important to me, is that you got to rise above self. If you're stuck in self, then you tend to see from here. How would I look? What would other people say? Would I have control? All of these are not important issues. When you rise above self, you see it from a distance.
In the 70s, a then champion bodybuilder, Arnold Schwarzenegger, wanted to pursue acting. When he approached the Hollywood agents, they told him that his weird body, weird accent, and a weird name would never sell any movie tickets. They told him that at the most he could be a freaky character actor, but never a leading man. Schwarzenegger ignored their so-called advice and became one of the most famous and highest paid movie stars of all time. His name, his body, and his accent, all of the things that the agents said were liabilities, became his biggest strengths. Around the same time that Schwarzenegger was trying to establish himself as an actor, a young African-American lady called Oprah Winfrey was also trying to make a name for herself in show business. She had suffered a rough childhood and sexual abuse in the past. Despite these emotional setbacks, Oprah was determined to make it big. And yet, she was fired from her job as a news anchor because she was deemed unappealing and unfit for TV. Of course, this lady deemed unfit for TV went on to host one of the most famous talk shows in history and revolutionized TV forever. The stories of Schwarzenegger and Oprah are recent examples, but here is one from history, the story of Albert Einstein. As a child, Einstein had a great difficulty in speaking and reading due to his dyslexia. His teachers thought he was mentally retarded and antisocial. One teacher even told his father, quote, "No matter what he does, he will never amount to anything," unquote. He was forced to take up a job as a clerk in the Swiss patent office, and it seemed that the teacher's prophecy was coming true. But in 1905, while still a clerk, he published a paper called The Special Theory of Relativity. The paper became so famous that by 1908, he was considered a leading scientist. By 1921, he won the Nobel Prize. By the time he died, he became the most famous scientist of all time and his name became synonymous with the word genius. So, what happened to the critics who said he was mentally retarded and would never amount to anything? Well, nobody knows what happened to them, since nobody bothers to remember them.
People will ridicule you whenever you attempt to do anything new. They are going to convince you that you're going to be a failure when you feel it is worth staking your life on your dream. They will call you crazy even when you're pursuing it diligently.
But that is okay. If you believe in yourself and you are determined to do whatever it takes to achieve your dream, the same people will eventually look up to you and call you a role model.
Go into 100 years, go into 500 years, go into 1,000 years, positive thinkers have always been in a minority. But then, they are the ones who are remembered, they are the ones who've done something in life, they have some accomplishments, achievements in life, they're the ones who made a contribution to society, and that's it.
For my higher studies, I had to go to England, and there was no way I was going to stop this project. Suddenly, it clicked in my head. I did not have to limit this film just to India. This could go international.
Running in the sand, living on the land. The salty breeze was in our eyes. We stood beneath the dragonflies and danced all night. We polished all the chrome on a rusty little home. We slept all night in parking lots. We tied our hearts in double knots so tight, so free, so bright. Remember when we were just cherubs in our tender skins, waiting patiently for love.
Will you agree that a pioneer is someone who has the courage to go ahead with an idea even when others find it laughable?
Yeah, well, that describes my situation perfectly, because I remember when we first came up with the idea of DNA identification, and I mean, one of the obvious applications was in catching sexual offenders through DNA left on the victim. And I remember the first time I talked about that here in the Department of Genetics. So I told the audience about the biology that we've done, how we come up with these extremely variable bits of DNA that gave us this identification method. And then right at the end, I started speculating, maybe we could just use this to catch criminals, for example, rapists. And I remember about a third of the audience burst out laughing. They thought this is a crazy idea. They thought I completely lost the plot. And I have to say, for me, that was the biggest stimulus I could have had. I was determined at that point that I was going to prove them wrong, and I did.
What, according to you, is the true definition of success?
Oh, that's a hard one. Subjectively, the true definition of success is to be happy. If you're happy in your life, then you have succeeded.
The measure of success is the measure where you want to take it. A man makes 50,000 rupees a month and he says, that's all my ambition is. He has succeeded also.
But if they feel jealous about somebody else and they feel disenchanted with it, that's the time they then ask themselves, why be discontented? Why be disenchanted? Why don't I change my situation? If you really want to be only at the peak, that means if you really desire and you have a burning desire for that, then a whole strategy comes out. That means it's much harder sacrifice. That means harder the focus, harder the determination, harder the willpower.
Just look at Michael Phelps. Broke Mark Spitz' record. And they asked him, how'd you do it? He said, 4 years I did nothing in my life. I only did 3 things. I ate, I slept, I swam. Ate, slept, swam. That's all I did, only 3 things in my life. So, swimming 4 to 6 hours a day, 6 hours, without a Sunday off, well, tell me, how many people would do it with that? Now, this is discipline. This is discipline. Now, you tell me, can an athlete become an athlete without discipline? No way.
वो क्या वजह थी जिसकी वजह से आपने कुश्ती शुरू की?
देखो, गांव में कुश्ती का शौक होता है और मेरे फादर हैं जो वो पहलवान थे और बड़ा भाई था वो भी पहलवान था और हमारे गांव में कुश्ती का शौक था और गांव में ज़्यादातर कुश्ती, कबड्डी, बॉक्सिंग, इन चीज़ों का वो रहता है और मैंने भी कुश्ती इसलिए थी।
इतना मेहनती और इतना टैलेंटेड था ये, इसने कभी नीचे को तो देखा ही नहीं, सामने जो भी आया उसको ये और भी जो आदमी कहते थे भी तेरे से तगड़ा है, तो ये हमेशा इसका ये जवाब होता था, तगड़ा जो है मैट बताएगा ये तगड़ा है या मैं हूँ।
मैं रेसलिंग से पहले ये मान जाऊँ कि नहीं ये तो मेरे लिए तगड़ा है, ये हरा लेगा मेरे को, तो वहाँ तक तो मैं पहुँच ही नहीं पाऊँगा। कॉन्फिडेंस बहुत ही ज़रूरी है और आप ये मन में रखोगे कि मेरे को जीतना है तो मेरे ख्याल से तो वो जीतेगा।
कोई भी किसी भी खिलाड़ी के लाइफ में अगर वो कुछ करना चाहता है तो उसको उसके फोकस से हटाने वाली भी बहुत सारी चीज़ें रहती हैं, तो आपने क्या किया, वो क्या चीज़ें आपने अपना फोकस कैसे बना के रखा?
डिसिप्लिन ही मैं मानता हूँ मैं इस चीज़ को, क्योंकि डिसिप्लिन हर एक चीज़ में चाहिए। आप किसी चीज़ को देख लो तो डिसिप्लिन में आदमी नहीं रहेगा तो वो मतलब इधर उधर हो जाएगी, फोकस हट जाएगा।
Hard work goes behind any kind of achievement. If anybody was to sweep this room, unless they worked hard at sweeping this room, it would be left unswept. So every work requires commitment and hard work in the ultimate analysis. But above all this is sincerity to yourself.
Mental conditioning, mental toughness. What is that? Mental toughness and mental conditioning is exactly identical to physical toughness and physical conditioning. How do you build stamina? How do you build muscles? With constant practice, you keep building stamina. Today, an athlete runs 100 meters and gradually he keeps increasing his either speed or distance, and his stamina keeps building up. Same thing. You pick up weights. Are you able to pick up huge amount of weights overnight? No. You gradually pick up little weights and then gradually keep increasing, and you start building heavy muscles in your body. Similarly, you mentally, you show toughness for an hour, one day, and gradually that day stretches. All right, today I did it. And today I did it in small things. Okay, today my mental toughness is I am going to make sure I eat the right kind of food no matter what temptation. I'm not going to have that. Okay, period, I'll stick to this. That one element of mental toughness, you know something, that stretches into other things. You start with little items and gradually you start doing the big ones. You start doing the big one overnight, you'll never do it.
It's like every day you want to sleep more in the bed, because morning's little nip in the air is very nice. You want to continue to cuddle in the little quilt and you want to sleep, but you want to be fit, and that's the only time to do your fitness. So the desire to sleep has to be slightly lower than the desire to be fit. So the desire to be fit rules over the desire to sleep, and you throw off the quilt and you go for a walk or a jog. Which desire overrules the other? I think that's a critical decision every day, and I have it every day in my life. Each day, your better thought has to win over a weaker thought. It's an everyday exercise. There's no holiday in this. So if one day you had a holiday, the next day it has to see that it's not prolonged. So there is no holiday in self-discipline. There may be a Sunday for you and me, but there's no Sunday for self-discipline, for a better thought to win over a lower or a baser thought, or a weaker thought, or a thought which deviates you towards and compromises you on your discipline.
Here is a quick recap of the lessons in the film exemplified by the life of Mahatma Gandhi, an unarmed man who took on the British Empire and brought them to their feet, not through weapons but through non-violence.
Believing that independence was possible through non-violent struggle was an idea that was crazy to many. After all, everything was won by wars in history, right? Gandhi did not think so. He believed that independence was possible through non-violence. The most important thing for you is to remember that belief precedes all achievement. Gandhi said, "Men often become what they believe themselves to be. If I believe I cannot do something, it makes me incapable of doing it. But when I believe I can, then I acquire the ability to do it, even if I did not have it in the beginning." What we can learn from this statement and from Gandhi's life is that only if you believe that something is possible, will you put in the effort to make it possible, and probably, eventually, make a seemingly impossible task become a reality. Conversely, if you believe that something is impossible, you will have a hard time doing it, no matter how simple it is. Even though Gandhi was highly respected, he was also heavily criticized by many. Revolutionaries criticized his non-violent approach. The British laughed at his attire and for a while dismissed him as a madman. Some criticized him for his lifestyle experiments. But Gandhi said, "Nobody can hurt me without my permission." This is a profound statement. It means that while you have no control over what someone says to you or about you, you have absolute control over how you feel about it or how you react to it. The more unnecessary importance you give to somebody else's statements, the more bothered you will be. Don't waste your time fighting these people. Focus your efforts on what truly matters. If others' opinions were really that important, nature would not give you a brain to think for yourself. Next, it is important to re-emphasize discipline. Gandhi practiced self-discipline in almost all aspects of life. It was to the point that it could even be called excessive. You don't have to go to that extent and apply discipline to all aspects of living, but you do have to apply it to your goal. Remember, for everything you want to achieve, there is a price you must be willing to pay. The question is for you to decide whether your dream is worthy of that price. The price is never paid through money. It is paid through blood, sweat and tears over and over again until you finally reap the rewards. Gandhi said, "I claim to be an average man of less than average ability. I have not the shadow of a doubt that any man or woman can achieve what I have, if he or she would make the same effort and cultivate the same hope and faith." So, are you willing to cultivate the faith and are you willing to pay the price?
आपका नाम क्या है?
मेरा नाम पुरुषोत्तम लाल शुक्ला है।
जी आप क्या करते हैं?
मैं एक सिक्योरिटी में नौकरी करता हूँ।
अच्छा ये बताइए आप कितने समय से ये जॉब कर रहे हैं वाला?
यहाँ तो मैं 1.5 साल से नौकरी जॉब कर रहा हूँ।
और जब आप छोटे थे आप क्या बनना चाहते थे?
मैं उस समय तो पुलिस इंस्पेक्टर बनना चाहता था।
पुलिस इंस्पेक्टर बनना चाहते थे? हाँ। क्यों, क्या लगता है आपको आप पुलिस इंस्पेक्टर नहीं बन पाए?
ऐसा पता नहीं ऐसा क्या हुआ कि मैं नहीं बन पाया, मतलब भाग्य साथ नहीं दिया।
नहीं, बट आपने अगर कुछ प्लान बनाया था कि आपको पुलिस इंस्पेक्टर, कुछ ना कुछ तो हुआ होगा जिसकी वजह से आप नहीं बन पाए। फैमिली ने सपोर्ट नहीं किया?
नहीं, फैमिली की वजह से नहीं।
हाँ,
बस वैसे मतलब तो बस भाग्य की बात होती है।
अच्छा, सब चीज़ भाग्य से ही होता है?
और क्या, मैं तो भाग्य पर भरोसा रखता हूँ।
अगर हर चीज़ भाग्य होती तो फिर आदमी का कहाँ यूज होना?
वो तो है, लेकिन ये अपना अपनी सोच है।
In certain cases, I guess there are circumstances which are beyond your, anticipation. You're doing extremely well, and then a tragedy hits you. Yes, those circumstances do radically change people's, course of success or course of purpose or course of their lives, which really has a very, very severe impact on what they're trying to achieve. But if you keep blaming a set of circumstances for your continual failure, then I think you have to do a little bit of introspection and see, are you really addressing all these challenges in the right way? Today I can blame what if I don't deliver the kind of results I'm looking for. I can always blame, oh, the oil prices have gone up, and oh, the dollar has depreciated, or that the prices have increased, the inflation has increased. I can keep blaming and finding all these excuses, but at the end of the day I have to be very truthful to myself.
I've been brought up in a typical middle class mohalla. I studied in a government school which was not English medium. Okay, Nagar Nigam Madhyamik School, then Government Boys Higher Secondary School, etc., etc. I knew I don't belong there. I was brought up, I was born in a one-room only one room, without any windows, in a slum area called Nabi Karim in Delhi. I was born there. But once I came of age, once I started rejecting things, things were happening to me. I knew I don't belong here. To desire, to imagine, to will, to create, that means you are determining your destiny. I mean, you know that you have a sense of destiny. You're destined to be somewhere else. Even if you're deep in the gutter, if you're aware of your destiny, sense of destiny, that you don't belong here, you belong elsewhere, things will happen.
That's why lots others get left behind, because they have not valued what they had. They let time run out, or they wait for things to happen. I don't wait for things to happen. I make things happen.
One of the most inspiring stories is that of Professor Stephen Hawking. At the age of 21, he was diagnosed with motor neuron disease, a rare condition which cripples a person and usually causes death within a few years.
Hawking was told he only had 2 years to live. While he proved the doctors wrong and survived, he was still eventually confined to a wheelchair and much of his body became paralyzed. A bout of pneumonia in 1985 almost killed him. The doctor suggested to his wife to switch off life support, as they thought he would almost certainly die. But she refused. Miraculously, Hawking survived again, but a tracheotomy procedure conducted during this period robbed him of his ability to speak. Today, he is only able to speak through a speech synthesizer in which he has to key in sentences letter by twitching his facial muscles. Due to the progressive nature of his disease, slowly it has become extremely hard for him to even do that. And yet, despite all these problems that would make average people think their lives were doomed, Hawking had the courage to keep pursuing what he wanted. His work in theoretical physics has established him as one of the most respected physicists in the world. Despite the immense struggle he faces in everyday life, Hawking has still managed to maintain a sense of humor and tries to enjoy life as much as he possibly can. Through his popular books such as A Brief History of Time, which was written after he lost his ability to speak, he even managed to capture the attention of everyday people and sparked their interest in science. The book became an international bestseller and established him as a pop culture phenomenon. Stephen Hawking, a man confined to a wheelchair, a man who wasn't even expected to live long, has today become a legend alongside the likes of Sir Isaac Newton and Albert Einstein. Sometimes in life, not everything goes the way you wanted. You may go through setbacks or personal tragedies that may radically alter your life and make your goals appear like a distant dream. Life may beat you into a pulp and others may think it's all over for you. But if you have the mentality of a winner, nothing will hold you down. No matter how tough it gets, you shall rise, fight back, and inspire everyone around you to face their own lives with renewed vigor.
So remember, there's only one thing that can stop you from achieving your dream. It is not your ethnicity, it is not your gender, it is not your age, it is not a disability, and certainly it is not your current economic condition. The only thing that can stop you is the lack of your own will to succeed.
The successful person, those who are able to convert the bad circumstance to their good circumstance, or must have that much of patience to overcome the bad circumstance. Suppose we had faced lot of bad circumstance, very hazardous situation. So we had to overcome. At the same time, we had to keep ourselves honest. Because in what happens, you see, in bad circumstance, people usually lose their integrity, honesty, confidence, everything. It is those who are success who keep all these things even in the bad circumstance.
Usually, most people, I'm talking about most people, when they think of a new project, they either decide not to attempt it, they just create an idea in their mind and they never attempt it, or they quit midway. Why do you think that happens so many times with most people? And has it ever happened with you?
Yeah, I know most of the people, well, I also know some people that they either don't start a work or make some kind of mindset for himself and for the others that this is not good or this will not be done by me. Or if they start also, they leave it in midway. So the only reason is that they have no goal.
You can't just jump into a football game without knowing where's your goal. You may be scoring a goal against yourself because you didn't know where the goal was.
There was a study conducted which said less than 3% people in this world have goals. Less than 3%. And that means, how can you reach a destination that you don't have? Goal is a destination. If you have no destination, how can you choose your direction?
There has to be a firm resolve, a direction in life. To the extent that you can have a direction in life, whether it's in relation to the profession you are aspiring for, or in connection with any major objective that you have. Most great objectives need not only perseverance and a right strategy, but a vision also is very important.
If it's a hazy vision, it doesn't do the job. That's like a focus. Now, if you got a camera and if you don't focus it, what kind of picture are you going to get? A blurred picture. But if you focus it, you'll get a clear, sharp picture. And that's really what we are talking, the power of focus. You look at like a magnifying glass. Best sunny day, if you keep moving the glass, what happens? Nothing. But you put some papers and you focus it right there, it catches fire. Because you see, what has happened is you concentrated the entire energy on that one point and bang, it shoots up.
Goals always shift. I have a goal in my mind to jump. I have to ultimately jump 20 feet. I'll set the goal. My ultimate goal is 20. But my first goal is to jump 4 feet. Once I've achieved that, I'll go 4 feet 2 inches and so on. When I've reached 20, which is the world record, I may find it very easy because I've done these earlier. I'll raise the bar.
So I suppose it's important to have a goal to check it as a milestone, right? But not really as the end itself.
So it really means that you have to have a clearly drawn action plan. If you want to achieve a yearly goal, 1 year goal, you got to break it down to semi-annual, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily, hourly. See, and then you want to keep your hourly goal and your yearly goal in front of you, and then keep hitting your hourly goal. That's it, keep hitting your hourly goal.
And then what's my peak? Oh, my peak is next peak. Then for that, I need to shed 5 pounds. I need to get the right weight. I need to go to a trainer. I need to have the right shoes. And I have to be up in the morning. And then I have to love what I'm doing. If that person continues to love that goal, then he'll never need any goading.
So goals are shifting values, but you have to set them. You cannot be aimless.
One of the most powerful examples of what goal setting can accomplish can be seen in the story of mankind's progress in space.
It may seem we've made astounding advancements. After all, we have a permanent presence in low Earth orbit in the form of the International Space Station. However, when you look at the fact that 40 years ago, man reached the moon, still being stuck in low Earth orbit today does not seem like a remarkable achievement anymore. Can you figure out the reason why 40 years earlier a seemingly impossible thing was accomplished, and yet since that time we've made little progress? The answer to that question lies in the space race between the United States of America and the Soviet Union. Not only did the Soviet Union launch the first man-made satellite into space, it also launched the first man into space. Alarmed by their progress, the American President John F. Kennedy made a historic announcement and for the first time set a clear goal for America to reach the moon before the end of the decade.
We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win.
Kennedy did not live long enough to see this dream come true. On November 22, 1963, he was assassinated. America plunged into mourning. The desire to go to the moon was no longer just about beating the Soviets. It was about something much more. It was about fulfilling the greatest wish of the fallen leader. The desire to accomplish this goal collectively was now stronger than ever.
The greatest leader of our time has been struck down. But he said, "Let us begin." Today, in this moment of new resolve, I would say to all my fellow Americans, let us continue.
A goal is a dream with a clear direction and a plan of action.
It all depends how soon you want to reach your goal. So if you put in a time frame, then the shortest cut, the surest cut and the safest cut is important. See, that road journey involves so many things. Right speed, right fuel, right whether you want to do it alone or right companionship, all that matters.
A goal is a dream with a deadline. You know what deadline is? It means there are always starting date, finish date. It's not an objective.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
However high the goal you set is unimportant. I mean, I may say, I would not want to jump 50 feet. You'll laugh at me. I'll say, you wait and see. Time will come and I'll jump that. It's unrealistic. Nobody in the world has done it. But nobody in the world jumped 6 feet 7 inches also 100 years ago. Today they do it.
If there's one philosophy for success you would like to share with young people, what would that be?
Well, come back to this fun thing. Start early. Find something that you can become truly wedded to, truly addicted with, for which you have obtained the most enormous pleasure and fun. Doesn't matter what it is, and run with it. I mean, science was, always has been, and still is my hobby. It's not my job. So you should have that sense of fun there. And if you don't have that sense of fun and engagement with whatever you're doing, then your chance of success, I think, is going to be seriously diminished.
All you have to do is to just know your core strength as to what are you good at, what do you want to do, what do you enjoy the most. My father, like many other fathers, wanted me to appear for the IAS and IFS. All right, I did appear, missed one paper, my heart was not there. So wherever your heart is not there, you're not involved, you're not enjoying, that thing does not really happen.
Most of us as parents are unfulfilled aspirations and dreams sometimes translate to the child. Okay, all right, I wasn't able to do this, let him do it. So there's push. Now that push can be both good. Okay, you've got somebody who's pushing you, come on, move forward, you have got to achieve it. So that's a good side. The other side, if it goes totally against your inclinations or your natural abilities or what you've studied for, then it can be very irksome.
Children grow up emulating a lot of what their parents are doing. That's why it's so important for parents to know what they would, what could be emulated, and therefore be careful about what they're saying or doing in the presence of their children. I think it was a bit of an idealistic world compared to what is happening around me today. That my parents really felt that their profession was one that they were committed to. It's another matter that they also made their livelihood of it. But that's what they wanted to do first. So the idea of being passionate about what you want to do and not merely take to something as a necessary form of earning a livelihood. That was the important thing that was established at home. And that's what we grew up believing, that you've got to chase your dreams, you've got to do what you want to do, not just do anything that will bring you some bucks to run the home.
Success is enjoyment. So how is if you don't enjoy work, then it's labor. Then you are just doing labor work. Here it's life earned, that's wages earned. There's a difference between earning your life and earning wages. That's living your life, that's making a life, that's creating a life, that's sharing a life, okay, and that's enjoying life. This is earning your daily wages every day, and you're now again hungry for the tomorrow. But the key is, start searching for it. If you want it, search it. So that means where does the want come? Because the search will begin only if you want it. So that another means is make yourself thirsty for what you want. That means just ask yourself and search yourself, what do you want?
One of the hardest questions for most people is to figure out what they want. Most of us go through our entire lives without knowing our true purpose in life. So, how does one figure it out?
Truthfully, only you can find out the answer to that question. However, the following 3 strategies are invaluable. First, make a list of all the things that you love doing. Things you can keep on doing on and on without ever getting bored. Next, from this list, pick all those things that you're actually good at. If you love playing golf but you aren't very good at it, you won't be very successful at it. Therefore, find the things that you love doing, and from that list, figure out your core strengths. Finally, also figure out how to provide value to others around you by doing what you're good at and what you love to do. People don't care about what you do. They care about what you can do for them. Few people care if you play music for yourself, but if your music can create an amazing experience for others, you can make your passion your living. In a nutshell, do what you love, do what you're good at, and figure out how to provide value to others by doing the same. Here are examples of many people who widely succeeded at turning their passion into a career. Number 1. Steve Jobs. the late founder and the CEO of Apple Corporation. He did what he loved. It was not just to make computers, but in his words, to make a dent in the universe. Next, he did what he was good at. Steve Jobs' main strength was an emphasis on design and aesthetics, and he also had a natural flair for marketing. He utilized all these strengths into creating revolutionary technology products and brilliantly marketing them. By making products that provided utility, were beautifully designed, and easy to use, Jobs provided immense value for the end users. Many of them became such loyal fans that they wanted to buy every single product that the company came out with and looked up to Steve Jobs as if he were a rock star. A similar story is that of Walt Disney, the founder of Disney Corporation and the creator of several unforgettable comic characters and the man behind Disneyland. He did what he loved, which was pursuing a career in cartoons and animation. He did what he was good at, which was not only creating cartoons but also storytelling, voice acting, and leveraging the efforts of those he hired, and then turning it into a business. Most importantly, he found a way to provide value to the world through entertainment. His iconic comic characters such as Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck became wildly successful with kids. Through the movies he produced and the amusement park Disneyland, which attracts hundreds of millions of visitors annually, he provided them fun and an escape from reality. As a result of this, Walt Disney became one of the greatest showmen in the world. Here is the final example, which is that of Bruce Lee. From a young age, Bruce Lee had an interest in both acting and martial arts. By the time he was in his 20s, his biggest strength was his incredible martial arts ability. After much struggle, he finally succeeded in the movie business thanks to his ability to translate his martial arts skills onto the big screen and entertain and inspire the masses. Even 40 years since his untimely death, Bruce Lee is still widely regarded as the greatest martial artist and the most popular Oriental movie star in the world. All of the above people succeeded wildly because of following their passion and providing value to people on an immense scale. The scale at which you wish to provide value to others is absolutely up to you. I decided to head to Madurai, a town in India, to meet a man who followed his passion. He loved what he did. He was great at it. But he decided to provide value to others in a very different way.
I had a very lucrative lifestyle. I enjoyed my school, I enjoyed my college, I finished my BSc Hotel Management, and I got a job in a five-star group of hotels in Bangalore. I was working there for 6 months, seeing the capacity and the performance of my job. Taj, the five-star group of hotels, purchased a property in Switzerland. So I was supposed to go there on a 4-year bond. So when I was going there on a 4-year bond, I saw a very old man having his own human waste for hunger. So I was literally shocked for a second. I thought, what is going to be the purpose of life? I went to the nearby hotel, brought sumptuous idlis and gave it to them. Within seconds, he finished those idlis and gave me a look of gratitude. So I thought, okay, that is going to be the lifestyle which I am going to take. I am not here to sell a plate of fried rice for 500 rupees or $10 in my star hotel. So whatever I have learned, I want to give those to people. I started this organization when I started doing this work when I was 19 years old. For the last 10 years, it's been going on non-stop without any break. The family did not initially react positive because any father would not allow his son to throw a lucrative job and enter into a social life, wherein lead a life like sannyasi, wherein he does not have anything for himself. So any father would get disturbed. My parents got disturbed and confused. What I told them is that I just wanted them to go and see what is happening on the roads. After they saw what's happening on the roads, the world people there on the roads touched the foot of my mom and said, now they are able to eat 3 meals a day only because of their son. So that was a real transformation happened to my mom. And after coming back home, my mom said, my dear son, you feed all these people. I'll feed you till I am alive in this world. But the community by and large, as you said, did have a lot of disturbance stating that you are from a Brahmin community. You are not supposed to touch these people, hug these people, give them a haircut, a shave, you are with the people, and you are not supposed to do that. I said, what is bothering you? They said, you are not supposed to do that. I said, okay. I feel happy not to be even a Brahmin. You can remove me from the community. It doesn't bother me. But the social activity which has been going on is more important to me. See, everything depends upon the self-satisfaction. A good career you get is again a self-satisfaction. And I feel this to be the best in the world.
Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary.
Birth and death is not in our hands. Who are we born with? We do not know. When do we die? We do not know. Therefore, the only choice we have is to live the period between our birth and death to the best we can and for the largest good we can. And if you want to be empowered, then work for the largest good. Work also for others while you empower yourself to empower others by deed, by action, by any way you can. And that to me is life worth living.
You must have an objective which is something above yourself.
How was it, like you said, you had some rejections, but I mean, how did they receive you when they sort of heard from you and you wanted to speak to them about this? I mean, did they just think you were mad, or did they really kind of feel that there was something they could contribute to your project?
Well, perhaps I would say most of the people I approached, I would say they saw nothing in me. Most of the people, because to be honest, I've interviewed about 11 people and I've been rejected by 140 people.
Wow.
So you can imagine that most of the people that I tried to approach, they said no straight away.
It is very much true, there were n number of hurdles. The first hurdle initiated when he had to line up the interview. From here, he was not a person from media, right? He didn't have contacts anywhere. All what he had was in his mind just the idea. So if I have to say that the path was very easy, it's wrong. The going was getting tougher each and every day. For scheduling a single interview, he would have sent across 100 emails to people, but there were no replies. He would have, given n number of calls to secretaries, to personal assistant of who's and who, but there were no replies. People were not giving him the kind of, warm welcome he wanted to have.
You see, many young persons have the goal. Very few might have vision, but very few have the patience or painstaking capacity to achieve that goal.
Many times I'm asked, if there was only one quality in life that would bring success to someone, what would it be? And first of all, there is no one quality, but if ever there was, persistence would be on top. Now you think about it, what is success? How do you measure success? How do you define success? Success is not measured by how high we go up in life, but how many times we bounce back when we fall down. That is success. And that is persistence. You don't give up.
देखो कई बार ऐसे हुआ है मेरे साथ कि एक बार वर्ल्ड चैंपियन बनता रह गया, वहाँ मेरी 4th प्लेस रही, तो उस चीज़ पे कई बार दुख होता था कि भाई इतनी मेहनत करते हैं और इतनी नज़दीक से वापस चले जाते हैं। और जैसे एशिया चैंपियन में एक बार चैंपियन बनता रह गया, सिल्वर मेडल आया, और कई बार ऐसा हुआ। मगर जो मेरे साथ देने वाले मेरे कोच साहब हैं, मेरे पिताजी हैं, सभी हैं जो वो तो यही कहते थे कि भाई तुम अपना ध्यान रख।
I have one resource here in this company who took 12 years to pass one exam. Every year he used to come to me, sir, I failed again. So all of us failed. So continue with tenacity. He did. 13th year he passed. I cannot name them, I will not name them. He's one of the best resources I've got today. He's earnest, he works hard. I have him for a lifetime. If you never give up, luck has to be on your side because you will succeed one day.
Don't give up. Because with every person who doesn't believe you, you will find someone who eventually believes in you. Okay? You will have many doors shutting on your face. Don't take that as failure.
It may be a failing. It may be a failing, but not a failure. There's a difference between failing and being a failure. I might have failed, but that doesn't mean I'm a failure.
And you have to learn to face failure, pick yourself up and move on. If there are people who are going to be very disillusioned at their first failure, you won't go very far. So that's the perseverance you need. You must believe in what you're doing and you must persevere.
I think it's inevitable that you have to persevere in any walk of life, given that you are going to be presented with a whole range of challenges, and so you need to think about how you're going to overcome the problems.
Life is about a very difficult journey, but it's those difficulties that make it very interesting, very exciting. If you had smooth sailing all the way, I think life would be very boring. But it's those challenges and overcoming those challenges that gives you a sense of confidence to move on. So my advice to young people is, don't give up. Life is about failures, but learn from these failures, because failing is a big experience, big learning. It makes you stronger, it makes you very confident when you actually overcome that failure. You know, yes, it is very demoralizing and demotivating if you keep failing. And if you keep making the same mistakes over and over again, then there's something radically wrong. But by failing and picking yourself up and then succeeding, believe me that failure is a big, big victory in itself. And I've done it and I've learnt it all the way. I've had many, many failures along the way. But it's those failures that have made me very strong, because every time I picked myself up and then succeeded, it's those failures I remember which have really made me very strong.
These are not theoretical statements. These are very practical statements, I told you. And that is a fact from my bottom of my heart, I'm telling you. If I tried 100 times, I failed most of the times. But you continue to keep trying, and then you reach where you have reached.
One of the greatest stories of perseverance and eventual success is that of Sylvester Stallone. Today, he's one of the most famous names in Hollywood, having starred in several hit movies. But behind his success is a story of incredible struggle to reach where he is today. Due to complications during his birth, a portion of his face was paralyzed and also resulted in him having a slurred speech. When he went to Hollywood agents, most of them made fun of this fact and told him it would never happen for him. Even after struggling for years, all he got was small roles that were totally forgettable. This went on, and all he got was rejection after rejection after rejection. The worst phase of his life came when he had no money to feed his best friend, his dog, and he had to sell it just to ensure that the dog did not die out of starvation. That night, he came home and cried. That was the lowest point of his life. But 2 weeks later, it was all about to change. He watched a match between Muhammad Ali, the greatest boxer in the world at that time, and Chuck Wepner, an absolute unknown, who nobody thought had any chance to beat Ali. But to the shock of everyone, Chuck Wepner almost beat Ali and lasted 15 rounds with him. This gave Stallone a movie idea. What if there was a movie about an absolute underdog boxer who had a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to face the world champion and possibly change his life forever? He went home and stayed up for 3 straight days and finished the script for this movie. He titled it Rocky. Eventually, he met 2 producers who loved the script and agreed to produce the movie. They also offered him $100,000 for the script. Stallone was very happy, but right at the end of the meeting, he said he wanted to play the lead role. When they would not agree to cast him, he declined the offer of $100,000 for the script, despite his poverty. Later, they contacted him over and over again with offers of $200,000, $250,000, and even $300,000. But each time, he refused to sell the script as they would not cast him in the lead role. Was he crazy? The man was so poor that he did not have any money to eat. But he kept turning down the offers. Any other person in the situation would have taken that offer, but not him. The desire to fulfill his dream of becoming a movie star was greater than the temptation of the immediate gratification offered by the huge money. It was clear to the producers that no amount of money was going to make him give up his dream. So finally, they agreed to cast him in the lead role. But to minimize the risks of casting an unknown actor, they only offered him $25,000. Stallone immediately agreed. And the first thing he did was go back to the man to whom he sold his dog, and he bought the dog back for $15,000. And then he started preparing for the film. Of course, we all know what happened with the Rocky movie. It became a smash hit and turned Stallone into a household name. It was also almost universally acclaimed by the critics. It won the Academy Award for the Best Picture in 1976. Rocky has become a timeless film which continues to inspire people to this day.
Now that's a story of incredible success. Don't be disheartened when things are hard. If they were easy, everyone would do it. The harder the path you traverse, the greater your story shall be. For you shall become an inspiration to everyone else who wants to walk that path. But to become an inspiration to others, you must first yourself be inspired to complete that journey, no matter how tough it is.
In fact, Calvin Coolidge once said, "Nothing in this world will take the place of persistence." He said, "Education will not. This world is full of educated derelicts." He said, "Genius will not." He said, "Unrewarded genius is a proverb. Persistence is omnipotent."
In the initial phases of making this film, I kept repeating the same mistakes. I thought if I knocked on the same door 1,000 times, somebody would eventually open. They did not. It was then that I decided to change my strategy and knock on 1,000 different doors instead. Because I learned from my mistakes, I started getting some success, and slowly these famous achievers started becoming a part of my film. But the process was still slow and frustrating. Over and over again I was rejected. Time after time the appointments I worked so hard for were dishonored and ignored. People around me said that this was a habit typical in India, and that people from other countries would honor commitments. So I believed them. I succeeded in getting an appointment from a very famous British author. On the day of my flight back to UK and one day before the interview, my father had a health problem. I almost decided not to go, but my dad said that I would never get this opportunity again. So with a heavy heart, I boarded the flight back to London. But the day I reached, I was informed that this interview was cancelled for good. I was shocked. When I told this author's assistant that I had come all the way from India, leaving an ailing father behind, just for this interview, I was told that they had done me a huge favor by even giving me a chance to meet him, and refused to talk further. I had reached the state of utter despair.
Sometimes I feel that, are people actually going to appreciate this? Are people actually going to care about what I'm doing? Are people actually going to be interested in what I'm doing? Because, I mean, you can have a lot of self-belief. You can have, when I started this, I had an incredible amount of self-belief. Even right now I have a lot of it. But when you go through rejections and when you go through failures, and it keeps happening again and again and again and again, then sometimes you really start to question yourself. Sometimes you really start to think, am I on the right track? Am I doing something which is actually worth it?
Riding driftwood on the foreign shores, spilling out into the ocean floor, in the memories all you've left without a trace. Paralyzed with the thoughts receding, current sweeps you with the silent bleeding through the heart into the darkest place.
The kind of effort I've put into it, most people would probably just, just try once, try twice, try thrice and just quit it. But me, I've been trying over and over again. Even though I'm getting results, I think the results are not up to the mark. And I really feel very disappointed sometimes. But it's like I said before, I don't want to be a failure. No matter how hard it gets, no matter how tough it gets, no matter how many disappointments I face, no matter how much of ridicule I face, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make this happen. I'm not content with just having a dream. What I want is, I want a dream and I want to achieve that dream. And by achieving the dream, I can show to others that they can dream as well and they can achieve that dream as well. I don't want to be someone who just says I want to be something but never puts in the effort. There are so many people who just want to be something but they never put in the effort. There's so many people who put in the effort but then they quit midway. I'm not going to do that. It gets very tough. There's so many disappointments involved. There's a lot of it, but I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to make it happen no matter what. Trust me.
Someone asked Socrates, what is the secret to success? He said, meet me near the river tomorrow morning, I'll tell you what it is. They met. And by surprise, Socrates caught hold of this person's head and ducked him into the water. This kid wanted to get out, but he kept him there. Till the kid started turning blue. And Socrates pulled him out. And the first thing this man did was, he took a deep breath. And Socrates asked him, son, when you were underwater, what did you want the most? He said, air. And the reply Socrates gave was, there is no secret to success. When you want success as badly as you wanted air underwater, you'll have it. Nobody will stop you. Nobody will be able to stop you. This is what we call the burning desire.
Most people would rather believe the secret to success that is nonsense as compared to the secret that is common sense. Not surprising though, as the one that is nonsense seems to be the path of least effort. Unfortunately, that's just not the way life works. You get back what you put in. You may think that the secret to success or the principles of success in general are applicable only to materialistic stuff. That's not true at all. What if I told you that all elements required for success can be found even in the story of a spiritual leader like the Buddha? The only difference is that the principles of success were applied to spiritual goals instead of materialistic goals. Born as Siddhartha Gautam, the future Buddha had everything he needed for a comfortable life. And yet, when he saw the reality of life, which was sickness and death, he knew he wanted an answer to escape the cycle. He wanted to become enlightened. It became a burning desire within him. If you want your life to progress, this great need for change must be present. If you are happy the way you are, great. But positive change will only happen if this need for change is present. Siddhartha had an unshakable belief that he could find the answer if he searched for it. It was this burning desire and self-belief that prompted him to take the risk of leaving his wife and child at the age of 29 and set out on his quest. When he finally left home, he knew there was no turning back. If he even thought about turning back, he would effectively kill any chances of finding the answer and becoming enlightened. He cut off his hair and adopted the robes of a monk. and thus burnt all the bridges that would make him return home. What about you? Have you wondered why most of us fail? We fail because we've made quitting an option. As long as quitting is an option, the natural instinct shall always be to retreat when things don't work out the way you expected. The only way to give your absolute best shot in the pursuit to accomplish something great is to systematically destroy all paths that tempt you to turn around.
When the path to go back is destroyed, the only thing you can do is march forward and succeed. Even if you die trying, at least you will know in your heart that you did not run away.
At this point, even though Siddharth had been persevering for 6 years, he felt he was not getting any closer to the truth. He also knew that if he continued to eat so little, he would eventually die. Therefore, he decided to change his approach. He accepted food from a village girl to restore his health. He then sat down with a firm determination that he would not arise until he found the truth. The closer he got to his goal, the more difficult things became. According to Buddhist mythology, Mara, the demon, first tried to tempt him into giving up his goal by tempting him with beautiful women. When that failed, he tried to attempt to dissuade him through fear. Mara really is a metaphor for our own inner demons. We all have them. Our worries, our fears, our distractions that distract us from our goal. Mara could also be a metaphor for the critics who will always try their best to pull you down. However, if you're truly focused on achieving your goal, neither the inner demons nor the outer ones will have any effect on you. The same happened with Siddharth. His desire, his dedication and the concentration was so strong that absolutely nothing could make him give up. Finally, after 49 days of meditation and defeating Mara, Siddharth finally attained enlightenment at the age of 35. He finally had the answer he was looking for. He became enlightened, and he became the Buddha.
Your purpose does not have to be enlightenment, at least not yet. Your purpose can be as big or as small as you wish. But you have to ask yourself, is it something that I'm willing to stake my life upon?
Is it something that I desire so strongly that I will never let anything come in my way? Is it something that I'm willing to give up everything for? If the answer is no, then you're not ready. But the day you discover something that you're willing to die for, nothing can stop you from achieving it. That is the secret to success of any kind, no matter how small or big it is. Are you ready for it? There are millions who want exactly what you want. How does nature pick who deserves it? It does so by making you pay the price. The price is working through years of obscurity and hardship, even when you don't see the fruit of your labor. It is the willingness to stake your entire life on that one thing that you want the most. When nature is finally convinced that nobody deserves it more than you do, you shall have it.
The effort that you have taken, I feel the most important thing that this message going forward that it would give to others would be that people who have a dream with a positive values behind them and a passion, they can turn those dreams into realities, which is what you're doing.
Past is past. You can change your present in the future. You can change. Begin with small steps. Long journeys begin with small steps. Start your small steps, and over a period you'll realize how much of a long journey you've already traversed.
The life of an animal is limited to doing the same things every day and going through life without a greater purpose. But the greatest irony is that most people live the same way.
Society drills into us over and over again that we are average. That we are average beings supposed to live average lives and destined to die average. That is just not true. The seeds of greatness lie inside all of us. If you did not have the potential for greater things, you would not have been born as a human. Don't waste your life away with meaningless repetition. devote your life to a purpose that makes life worth living. Most of us have wanted to be movie stars at some point. The truth is, you already are. You are the writer, the director, and the leading star of the movie called your life. It is usually up to you if you want a happy ending. Only you can change your life. But a radical positive change shall only happen when you want it bad. You can't be a martial artist by throwing a few kicks and punches. Until you practice it over and over again, that it almost becomes your second nature, you will never be a great martial artist. Similarly, to change your attitude towards life, it takes a lot of practice and perseverance. This movie is like a rough map to the destination, but it is you who has to do the walking. It is you who has to apply these principles in your life. It is you who has to want it so badly that you will never let anything else come in your way. But along the way, your greatest expectations might turn into huge disappointments. Still, keep moving forward. Your aspirations may seem like pipe dreams. Still, keep moving forward. Never stop believing. Do not give up on what matters most to you. Garner all the energy inside you and direct it towards making the final leap. When you reach the state where you want to achieve your dream so badly that it becomes the supreme purpose for your existence, nothing will be able to stop you. There is no other secret to success. So, march forward towards your dream courageously. There is no turning back. Stake your entire life on your dream. You will carve your destiny.